Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. However you're watching, wherever you're watching, however you're listening, wherever you're listening. It's the Bet Online Solution Short podcast. And the reason why we're laughing is because you guys missed the joke. You got to log on to our Patreon. Once Ryan sets our Patreon up. That was a good one. It was a perfect start. That was a good joke. We're here today after I thought the Decide guys were great. Go check the Decide guys out. They have great content. Love them dudes. They're like brothers from another. Great draft insight. So today we're going to talk about three guys that we want to see improve in spring football. Spring football is coming up. I think it's starting this week, right, Ryan?
They've been doing like off-season workouts and training, but pro days Wednesday, and then like official, I think spring practices start after that. And the spring game is 4:20. We're doing 9 guys, 3 each. 9 guys.
Yeah. 9
Not
guys.
to be confused with 5 guys. We're doing 9 guys.
9 guys.
So
never mind. just continue on.
Fred's already annoyed with us. He's like, "Can I get my intro out of the way, please?"
I'm not annoyed. I knew a joke was coming from Ryan, the one that's been on social media, and so like I was thinking the same joke in my head, but we can't say it because this is the radio show, so we got to keep it.
We'll just keep it moving. Just keep it moving.
You stay classy, Coach Rowe.
Yes.
All right. So we got 3 guys each, which is a total of 9 guys we want to see improve. We talked about our list before. I really like this list. I think this list is really, really good. Did not talk about this before the show. Do you guys want to go around the horn, one each? Do you want to name all our 3 all at once? How do you guys want to do this? And we could jump right into. I'm sorry. I'm so rude. I apologize. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Yeah, we're
you
good.
Guys messed me up. You guys just throwing me all.
Threw you off your game. Threw you some curveballs, but I'm good.
Yeah.
All good. But yeah, let's go. Let's go one each. But I'm good. How are you, Jamal? How are you?
Oh, thank you for asking, Ryan. I'm doing well. It's nice to know that someone has manners on this show. Maybe we need to have Ryan be the host again. You know, it's really been a drop off in manners ever since Ryan handed the reins to you, Coach. I think we need to yank the hook and bring Ryan back.
I was about to ask you how you're doing, but Ryan went ahead and did it. He pulled his trump card. He used his superiority over me. I'm happy you're doing well, Jamal. You have a hoodie on. It's kind of hot, so I don't know if you're doing that well.
No, I'm just comfy, man. This is a new hoodie I got. It's just comfy. I'm at the house. It's just I'm in my lounge era.
Do you have Disney Plus?
I do.
Check that out tonight. Eras Tour.
I know. I saw your text. I saw it. Did you see my meme that I sent you back?
I did see that. My wife is in the room watching it right now. She was like, "I'll go in the room and watch it because I need to turn this up." I didn't know she was a Swiftie.
T Swift. Ryan's a huge T Swift fan as well. He's a Swiftie. We're all Swifties here.
Proud Swiftie. Yeah.
I just can't wait to go to SoFi to see Luke Combs. That's going to be a big one too.
Yeah. That's coming up for you, right? June.
Yeah. June
will be here before we know it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll tell you guys the tickets. It was like a year ago, and now it's 2 months away.
I still have Friday available if you need to talk to Monica. Just want to let you know that.
I've talked to her and she's in if we can make the money work. So if you still have them, I'll let you know. We'll talk later. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. Let's get into this. We're all over the place today. It's one of those days. It's almost Friday. Let's just call it Friday. It's Friday. Yeah. We're acting like a Friday.
Hey, when this airs, it'll be Friday. So yeah, there you go.
Oh, there you go. So we'll jump around. We'll do one each. You're good with one each, Jamal. We'll just each do our individual one.
Absolutely.
You good with that?
Yep.
All right, good deal. So I'll let Ryan go first. You can have the honors. Who's your first guy you want to see improve during spring ball going into the fall season?
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I think these are guys that obviously want to see improve, but potential breakout guys with, the off season and guys that can, whether they were hyped last year and didn't quite live up to it, or incoming freshmen or transfers, or just guys that I think will improve with new coaching or just another year in their belt. So I'll start on defense. And I'll go with Anthony Lucas. He was a big time transfer from Texas A&M last year. A lot of excitement before we really jumped on Salute to Troy. Jamal and I were still doing the LA football show, and we talked a lot about Anthony Lucas coming over, him and Jamil Muhammad and some of the other big, obviously Bear and those guys. But Anthony Lucas was a guy that we really were excited to see just because of the pass rush moves he has, the pure size and athleticism that he had, and just never, for whatever reason, couldn't get on the field a lot last year. Like, did play obviously, but wasn't a true 3-down starter. We didn't really see that pass rush arsenal. And even with the defense being as bad as it was, he wasn't able to kind of crack that elite level from a standpoint of what we think he could be based on his projection of recruiting, based on his transfer projection, all that. So I think all that being said, now another offseason, and then just the infusion of having, Deanton Lynn as the DC, simplifying things for the defense, then Coach Henderson as his, defensive line coach. And we'll see if Coach Entz has any say too, being kind of that linebacker edge-ish position. But Coach Henney, I think, will be his main coach. And, I think we'll see a vast improvement and a guy that hopefully can live up to the hype that we thought he would be. And a lot of excitement, because there was a lot of thought that he might even transfer out after the season was over. So the fact that he is back and now with this coaching staff, guy, I'm definitely excited to see kind of what he can take to the next level.
Jamal, who's the first on your list?
I like Amarion Peterson, redshirt freshman running back. I know there's a lot of conversation right now about Marks, the transfer from Mississippi State. I know, Ryan, we're going to chat a bit about Joyner, but I just love what Amarion Peterson brings to the table. 6 feet, 215 pounds. I just love the size and just the weight distribution, his center of gravity, and I think he's just such a fluid runner. And when you talk about going into the Big Ten now and this schedule that they're going to face with the likes of LSU and Michigan and Penn State and obviously Notre Dame, and going through kind of this gauntlet of teams with pretty formidable front sevens and thicker defensive lines, I think having a guy that has the burst at 215 pounds, I think is going to be really significant. And much in the way Lincoln Riley does things at the start of the year, it's going to be a lot of skill position by committee. But I see Amarion Peterson really separating himself, one, because of his ability to shed in between the tackle box and be able to sort of bounce and get those tough yards and fall forward, but also because of his blocking ability and being able to protect the likes of a Miller Moss and a Jaden Maeva. So I really like Amarion Peterson as my breakout running back going into 2024.
I got you. Pretty good. So I'm going to go back to the defense side of the ball. And I think this is a kid with a lot of upside. Bunch of upside. He was put in such a bad position last year, and it's unfortunate. I'm happy he stayed, and that's what the true Trojan culture that we like. True freshman, he played. Wasn't his fault, some of the stuff that happened, but I think Braylon Shelby will be very, very good. I think they'll finally put him in the right position. He now becomes a fast linebacker that's playing at the linebacker level and not trying to cover running backs. So I think he'll make a lot of plays, make a lot of tackles. It'll be his breakthrough year. It all depends on this, how well he picks up the defense, right? If he picks up the defense, we can be talking about next year being his last year, right? If he doesn't pick up the defense and have an average year, he'll be back. But I see his growth going from 0 to 100 in one season. That's very, very good. So I think Braylon Shelby is going to be a good addition to Deanton Lynn's defense, and will be a lot better because you saw the potential that he had, and you saw how good he could be when he just played football. Now he has the opportunity to just play football. So that's going to be my guy. That's going to have a breakout year. We'll go back in reverse order. You're number 2, Jamal. Who do you like?
Snake it. Okay. Nice.
Woo, I love that. Going against the grain. I'm going to go with another offensive weapon here, Coach. Someone that I've had my eye on now for a couple of months, who I believe is going to be wide receiver number 1 of this offense going into 2024, and that is Jacoby Lane. He is just effortless in every way, shape, and form. His 6'4", 6'5" frame, his just catch radius is phenomenal. The hands are just so soft, and his ability to get open, both in terms of kind of corner routes as well as kind of getting to the inside, I think is really significant, and really had very high hopes for him going into that Holiday Bowl, and he did nothing but exceed it. And he reminds me of that ilk of kind of the Dwayne Jarrett, and, with a little bit more skill, frankly, at this stage. And so I think the sky's going to be the limit here with a lot of these jump balls, some of these contested balls, and I think just his ability to sort of own going over the middle as well, I think is going to be a huge wrinkle to this offense. I think he can give you that possession element. He can stretch you a little bit as well, just the versatility in the frame to me is going to make Jacoby Lane wide receiver number 1.
Dairou, what you got?
Yeah, just not to add any more, but yeah, I love Jacoby Lane. I think a lot of people probably didn't know his name until he broke out in the Holiday Bowl, but absolutely it's going to be a force next year. So can't wait. I'll stick on offense, and it's always interesting talking about offensive line guys, but obviously we saw what it looked like last year when the offensive line wasn't as strong. And we've talked a lot about how, the last 2 recruiting classes, 5 offensive linemen each in the 23 and now 24 class. One of those guys being last year's Elijah Page, which is like kind of the cream of the crop of that offensive line. Got some plays in last year. Big body, 6'7", like 310. And just a true freshman, will be a sophomore going in the next season. So really excited to see his development, within the system, within the same coach, same offensive line coach, and seeing what he can kind of provide. And, now having some different backs and different quarterback play. But hopefully he'll be able to come in and truly take over a starting role and not have a rotation like we saw a lot last year with the entire unit. But Elijah Page, it's going to be very important for this offensive line, obviously, to build continuity and consistency. And some of that's going to start with the young Elijah Page, who might be, the leader, even with guys coming back. Like, he might end up being kind of like the leader of this unit because he'll be the face of it, at least for the next 2 seasons. So big expectations for Elijah Page.
Yeah. So also the young kid from Grant too. I can't remember his name, but he's going to be very good too. That could be put on the honor roll. The other offensive lineman. He started some games. Come on, Ryan, help me out. What's his name? Come on. You're leaving me hanging here.
Started this past season?
Yeah, he started a couple games. True freshman. Polynesian.
Oh, Lonnie Noah?
Yep, there you go. He makes honor roll. He could have a breakout year too.
Yeah, he did. He's I think surprised a lot of people because he played a lot more this year than people expected. Between him and Page, they got really good size and good youth, obviously.
Yep, there you go. So my number 2 that I want to see have a breakout year is another receiver. And this is going to give, you ready, Jamal? I'm going to go nostalgia on this. Mike Williams, Dwayne Jarrett kind of feel if this guy has a breakout season, right? He was supposed to be a tight end, but he ended up not being a tight end, right? So you get Big Deuce in there, and Deuce has a breakout season. You got 2 big 6'6" receivers on both sides of the line. You have a Dwayne Jarrett, Mike Williams type of offense now, and I mean, on paper, it looks like they're putting together a national championship roster, right? But paper doesn't win anything. But you got 2 big guys, and I think if like the biggest problem with Deuce was I think he was in his own head and he was young, and he made a lot of young mistakes, dropped the passes, but then he'll go and make a play to make up for it, right? Like, he got ahead of himself. It wasn't ever. I should put it like this. It wasn't ever that he couldn't do it. I think he just got excited that the moment was happening, and then it got away from him. I think now that he's matured, that moment won't get away from him. I think he'll have a lot of big plays. He had a decent game in the Holiday Bowl. He dropped the one pass and he ended up catching the pass and all those great. Forced a fumble, Utah, so it's there. You see that it's there. The game will slow down for him. You got 2 6 guys out on the edge, man. You got, big options for Miller Moss. So I think Deuce is going to have a breakout year. And like I said, this is we'll get Dwayne Jarrett, Mike Williams part 2, and I'll be happy to see that. I'll put you in a good situation, especially going to the Big Ten, right? You don't have a lot of speed out on the corners besides Michigan and Ohio State. Minnesota's decent. You might get some Illinois. Maybe Rutgers, depending on the recruiting class. Greciano always has a defense ready to play, but going to that, be a little bit better. He might be the guy. So that's my guy. So we'll snake it. Ryan, we'll go back to you.
All right. So, I don't want to give the obvious names here because I think, it seems like in that secondary, we're going to obviously Kamari Ramsey, Arnold, John Humphreys, all the transfers over probably as of now, looking at the starters, obviously Jalen Smith will be your nickel corner, but I'm really excited to see kind of Anthony Beavers and how he continues to improve, and obviously had a really, really strong Holiday Bowl after, being given a lot more playing time in that game. And so, probably not a guy looked at as a slotted in starter, but showed he can play in that big moment. And now with this new system, we'll see how much Anthony Lynn, D'Anton Lynn, excuse me, how much he uses a rotation or whether he sticks with, his same, 5 guys or so on that back end. But I think Anthony Beavers is a guy that's developed well so far, even all things considered, with the coaching staff and with the secondary. And so with this offseason program, and we'll watch at spring ball, and that's what this is about, is who can break through based on kind of spring ball. A guy I'm looking forward to see how he goes up against this, elite receiving class that is so young, and they've kind of come up together being in that same youth and that same class. So excited to see kind of him continue to grow and develop. Not saying he's going to be a starter breakout, but guy that could come in, especially if, there's guys get banged up at all, and show that he can, come in and have an impact. So excited to see what Anthony Beavers can do.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Anthony Beavers play safety and corner last year?
Yeah, he played a little bit of both.
Yeah. So he has a lot of value because if he's able to learn both, I mean, he could always be on the field. So, I mean, that he does have opportunity to break out. So once you said Anthony Beavers, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like, he's one of those guys that he can help you a lot, no matter what situation. Corner goes down, Beavers get in. Safety goes down, Beavers get in. So that's a good deal. Jamal, go ahead.
We've done a nice job here of popping back and forth between offense and defense. And for me, it's another defensive guy in that front seven. I know Ryan mentioned Lucas. You've mentioned Shelby. I really like Nate Clifton, the transfer from Vanderbilt. And when you look at his 6'5", 280 frame, a lot of athleticism, a lot of versatility there in terms of his ability to rush the passer. In the SEC conference with Vanderbilt last year, 5.5 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss. He had 4 hurries, played against absolutely elite competition, and he's a little bit more of a mature guy. He's coming in as a graduate transfer. I think there's a leadership opportunity there to really buy in what some of the things that, Coach Henderson, Coach Lynn, all of these guys are trying to preach. So between the on-the-field versatility of being able to rush the passer as well as being placed in the different spots on that offensive line given situations, couple that with a potential to take on a real leadership role in developing some of these young guys and standing out in the locker room and really demonstrating that ability to go to the NFL. I really like Nate Clifton as being a huge impact player potentially for USC in this 2024 season.
Do you guys know what the official summer drink of Boston is?
The shandy, right?
The shandy. Do you know how you make a shandy?
Yeah, but I'll let you tell it. Go ahead.
It's beer and lemonade. So if you get Miller and lemon together, now you have a shandy. We're going to be seeing shandies all fall next year because my number 3.
Oh, you're going into your last guy. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to my last guy.
I was wondering whether I thought this was an ad read or what.
Just
was happening?
Just follow along with me. We're going to be seeing shandies all fall next year. And now that I think of it, Jamal, hear me out. We got Mike Williams, Dwayne Jarrett, and then who is the other guy? Kerry Colbert or Steve Smith? Mekhi Lemon is that Steve Smith guy. Like,
there you go.
Those starting 3 receivers, like what Mekhi Lemon did in the Holiday Bowl is what we were expecting to see all season. The difference is it looked like it was so normal to Mekhi Lemon. Like, it was like, that's the guy we wanted to see. We didn't really he played corner, so we know he's athletic. We didn't really see him when I went to sell the San Jose State game. Didn't really see him. I saw him. He is bigger than people think. His arms hang to the ground and his knuckles rub the grass. He's a big frame slot receiver, which makes him a little bit extra special because if he gets any type of end around, he might be able to get those extra yards. He's going to get the reps now. It's his spot to lose. I want to see him break out. Like, pretty much, we need to see a lot of breakout from the offense because it was so much hero ball that we feel like I think we're a little bit too comfortable in the defense. We should talk about that one day on the show. I think we're a little bit too comfortable now with the coaches, but the coaches don't play. And I say that all the time. Prime don't play. But the offense, they're replacing, but they replace with younger kids that we always complained about, and they did a really good job. So Mekhi Lemon's sophomore year won't be a sophomore slump. It'll be a breakout, and I think this is another guy where if he has a year we're going to be talking about, is this going to be his last year? If he has the average year, we're going to be talking about, well, if he has a good junior year, is he going to go to the league anyway? So that's where I think Mekhi Lemon is the guy that has to break out. Guys, got any rebuttal? Anything to say about those?
No, I love, Coach, I love your two offensive weapons. For Deuce, I kind of see Deuce a little bit more in that Drake London ilk, to be very honest, and kind of that hybrid, sort of almost tight end, wide receiver type that can just do a little bit of everything, long strides, incredible catch radius. And then with Mekhi Lemon, totally agree there, Coach. I mean, we talked about this earlier in the offseason. Is he a wide receiver? Is he maybe a running back? Is he maybe a safety? Is he, even sort of a tight end in a weird way, and playing small ball? I mean, it's a very unique body type. And so I think he's going to be a real matchup problem on the outside for a lot of folks. And I think it's just going to be a matter of how Lincoln Riley incorporates him in terms of number of touches.
Oh, yeah, you're going to say it. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, if you're in the Mightier 1090, thank you for joining. We appreciate you guys.
You're on it. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done.
No doubt about it. Sort of the fake ad read and then going right. And he's like, listen, Ryan, I got it. All right.
Don't test me.
No.
So
that was Reggie Bush, Oregon State fog game right there. That's what happened.
Busting out the fog. Hey, so the thing I do like, though, going into spring ball is that we have real size defensive linemen, if that makes sense. The defensive linemen that are coming in off the portal and the guys that are recruited make Bear look small. You get what I'm saying? Like, what's Bear, 6'2", 300, something like that, or 6'3", or like, but we're bringing in guys that are 6'5". We're bringing in guys that are like 295, 305, can move. Like, we're bringing in legit defensive linemen, like the defensive linemen you were seeing play at the Rose Bowl last year in their home game, like real defensive linemen. And like we were talking to Coach Henderson,
too. So across the board,
yeah. So like when we talk about with Coach Henderson, like, you reestablish the line of scrimmage, you got a whole brand new ball game, right? So we got to reestablish the line of scrimmage. And I also think opposite on the offensive side, there's going to be, I don't know, this is just projection, this is just my opinion, but there's going to be years to come where the top linemen in the NFL draft are all going to come from USC. Just off of the two recruiting classes, I should say that. Because the freshmen last year were pretty good. The freshmen that are coming in are pretty good. The coach is pretty good. This is now the test, right? There's a measuring stick. This is the test. So we're going to see what's going to happen if it's all hype or not. So I'll be happy to see. If they end up being the top lineman drafted, that's perfect. If not, let's go back to the drawing board and fix it. You guys know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'll just add, I love, Jamal, you brought up Nate Clifton, because I think a lot of people forgot. I mean, he was the first transfer of this transfer class, and so a lot of people kind of forgot he's even on this team, because then you get all the other guys coming in and all the coaching hires happen and all that stuff. But Nate, I think Clifton brings a lot of stuff that this team just didn't have last year. Part of it's some experience. You mentioned the size, the actual productivity on a bad Vanderbilt team. The age and stuff like that. So I think, he's another great player that, just to go to your point too, Coach, of a big size guy. We'll see what kind of weight they put on him, because I think he's
280, he's a little
6'5",
light.
280, yeah. So a little like thinner or lighter, more of like an Anthony Lucic type, but certainly has the height. And if he's on the Bear Alexander regiment, I think it's pretty easy. He could put on 15 pounds or so and get close to 300. So I think that's going to
be a fascinating point there, Ryan, about how the coaches think about development of the defensive line. Are we doubling down on thickness, or are we trying to sort of get some of these more agile, lighter guys to sort of the right weight? Maybe 280 is a little light, but maybe a Nate Clifton at 290, between 290 and 295 is sort of that sweet spot. Or are you looking for Bear to go to 320? And, what does that kind of look like? Or is it sort of a combination of those two types that you're sort of putting together to make sort of your front four and front seven? So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Henderson sort of thinks about that, whether he's going to kind of go all in on one archetype of defensive lineman. Obviously, there's variation between interior and edge, but even within those two sort of macro categories, what is the Henderson archetype from a collegiate standpoint in the Big Ten. And I think he's got all different types of toys. There's so many different shapes and sizes here. And so how he, I think, thinks about what is the ideal weight and kind of explosiveness for his linemen, I think it's going to be fascinating to see. And that's one thing, particularly in the spring, that I've got my eye on.
Well, let me ask you this, Jamal. What did D'Anton Lynn do with the defensive line at UCLA between the year prior to and the year he got there? Was there any change in the defensive line there? Because
so that's the interesting part.
Have a philosophy, right? So is it, so you saw some of the philosophy already.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, Coach. And I think if there's still one mystery around D'Anton Lynn, it is what is sort of his vision of ideal player, because Leatu Latu was there before he got there. Mm-hmm. The Murphy twins were there before he got there. Carl Jones Jr. was there before he got there. And then on the interior, Keanu Williams and Jay Toya were there before he got there. So he had kind of a ready-made front four, front seven that he could then employ this sort of Baltimore Ravens type of philosophy on, where essentially he really took his most athletic defensive linemen and put them on the edge, and he put his lower center of gravity guys on the interior and just attacked. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to be his same philosophy, or given that those guys maybe aren't as ready-made, the guys that we're talking about, a lot of possibilities, a lot of talent on the horizon here, but not quite as ready-made as the Latus and the Murphy twins were. So how does he develop that? And is he trying to go to those lighter on your feet, I can stand up but also put my knuckles in the ground edge rushers, and then kind of the more lower center of gravity guys on the interior? Or does he actually have a different vision of his ideal type of player, and he just kind of made it work at UCLA because they were a veteran roster? So I think that's going to be really interesting to see. That was what UCLA ran truly his vision, and he was just blessed with great ready-made players? Or was it a variation of his scheme that now that he gets to sort of mold and shape these guys as prospects, we're going to see some sort of variation of what truly is D'Anton Lynn's defensive philosophy?
I will say this, a true sign of a good defensive coordinator will put his players in the best situation possible.
Absolutely.
And he will
I've
make
never heard you say that before, Coach. I've never heard you say that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, and when I say it this time, I mean, like, if it's not working, he's not afraid to say, we need to figure out what works and go with that. You know what I mean? Compared to the Grinch who stole the national championship, he stuck with what he did. And he had the spread offense mentality, but you can't do that on defense, right? You got to be like, we got to figure out how to make this work. If we got to dumb it down to do whatever we could do, we need to do that. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, I hope D'Anton was like, wait, we got a problem. Let's fix it, and let's try to find the problem, and let's go from there. And whatever makes these kids flow, then we could do it. So that's what I'm hoping to see, and hopefully he's smart. And I think Coach Henderson, a pro guy, like, hey man, we need to scrap this. Like, we got enough. We got Ince, who's a national champion. We got Henderson, who's a Super Bowl champion. We got a former defensive coordinator in the defensive backfield, right? And then D'Anton Lynn is an old pro guy. So, I mean, the right decision should be able to be made. So that's all I'll say about that. You guys got anything else before we wrap it up out of here?
No, I think I'm really excited, to see some actual play. And spring ball, we're just about a month away from the spring game, so we'll be able to actually see in action some of the stuff deployed. I mean, we've been talking it's what the defense could look like, let's get excited about it, but we'll be able to see it. It's against your own guys, but we'll be able to see it. So excited for that. Now I see we'll have a lot of stuff leading up to it, so good stuff. One thing
I hope passes, and I hope it eventually passes, it's in legislation right now, is scrimmaging other schools in fall camp. And so you could scrimmage. I saw that,
yeah.
You could scrimmage your regional schools. So like SC could play like San Diego State, Sac State, Cal State, San Luis Obispo, and things like that. Hopefully that passes, and I think that makes them a little bit better. We also have advantage if we had a spring game in December. I mean, I'm still gonna call that a spring game. So
wouldn't it be fun if USC and UCLA could scrimmage before the season? And you have sort of that barometer that they kind of know where they stack up with each other, and then the season becomes, how they sort of evolve from that. That would just be so fun.
Or this is how I would do it, because that would be fun. I'm not going to take your idea. That would be exciting, and that would sell out even if you could do it in the spring, that will sell out. But the way I would do it is I will have all the youngsters play each other and kind of load down the playbook so people will come and see like, oh, he's going to be good. Like we know.
Well, it sort of builds up the rivalry.
Yeah,
it's like back in the day, right? In the 60s and 70s of college basketball, how you had the varsity and the JV.
Yep.
And the you had the JV scrimmage game and the varsity scrimmage game.
Yep.
And back when you had sort of the Kareem era, and Kareem was on JV and he beat the 3-time defending national champions because he was that good on the JV as a freshman. The freshman team won, so that would be kind of a really fun ingredient there to sort of see that. I love that, Coach, and I love Rye, baby. Rye's on his phone. He's working. You know how they had the ESPN this week was talking about Schefter's screen time, Ryan, did you see that? Was like 17 hours and 25 minutes per day. Really? Because it's NFL free agency, and there was one show where they even they followed him getting up and going off set to take a phone call. Rise our Adam Schefter, baby. Keenan Allen just got traded. He's on the phones. Our CEO's on the phones. We got to get on it.
We got to get the articles out. We got
an article out already. I got to tweet it during the show. We're good.
Get the Charger guys on it. Hey guys, I appreciate you, man. Spring, we're getting through spring. Grind it through spring. That's what we used to say at SC. Grind it through spring. This is where you get better. Can't wait for the fall. I don't know how many more days we have, but fall's coming. Spring game will be here. But until then, we get to have fun. I enjoy you guys. We had a bunch of fun today before the show. We even came on the show laughing. So that's what the LAFB family is like. That's what you guys are like. You guys are family. Thank you guys for watching. You guys know how it goes. This has been the Bet Online Salute Detroit podcast. Live free. Fight on.